We are officially live on the LA Football Network channel. Will Decker, joined by the best Rams beat writer in the business, one of my favorite people at LA Football Network, Mr. Skinny T. Tough game, man. It was a hard fought game, and you give a lot of credit to the Rams for what they brought for a team that, if the season ended today, is currently in the playoff picture with the Seattle Seahawks. A 27-23 loss. But we look at who the Rams had available, and no Matt Stafford, no Aaron Donald, no Allen Robinson, no Cooper Kupp. The run game is what it is at this point, and you just think that it took a Seahawk touchdown with 36 seconds remaining in the game for them to pull this out. Tough loss again, but in back-to-back weeks, this Chiefs and Seahawks games, I felt very proud of the Rams and what they were able to achieve ultimately on the field. Do you think that's a fair assessment, Skinny T?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a fair assessment. Definitely proud of those guys out there. Definitely showing heart with all those guys out injured, putting up some quality performances. I would say definitely. But at this point, no moral victories. If we're gonna get some W's, if we're gonna make it go to the end of the game, we got to come out with the W. The Rams have to win this game. It's a tough one to swallow, certainly, because of how well they played and how much heart they showed. Going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, just showing a certain amount of heart in that game, but coming out with the loss was something that the easier pill to swallow. But this one, divisional rival, you got to come out with that one. But like I was saying, some really good performances out there. I was really impressed with some of the things that Wolford did. Obviously, Bobby Wagner had himself a game, a couple of sacks, an interception, a couple of tackles for losses as well in somewhat of a revenge game. He came into it saying, "This is just another game," but it didn't seem like he was playing like that. He was playing with that chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and a phenomenal performance from Bobby Wagner. Vintage, if you will. 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, and that interception you mentioned. He was fantastic across the field. And I think a lot of Rams fans, this was kind of what they were anticipating with, for Bobby Wagner. I won't say they're going to expect every single game to be like the one he had today, when you're getting multiple sacks, interceptions, you're doing everything out in the field. But just that high-level impact player that Wagner was in Seattle, I think Rams fans really wanted to see that. And at least we got a taste of it today. Hopefully it can end the season kind of moving in a hot direction. But I want to keep it on the defense as well, because the guy that has struggled, for a little part of the season, he rebounded a little bit in the middle of the season. I remember he made the game-winning pick against the Falcons in week number 3. Jalen Ramsey, he has not been the same corner that we've come to know him as the premier lockdown corner within the NFL. And, the receiving core, for all their credit in Seattle, had themselves a day today. Tyler Lockett, DJ Metcalf, both over 120, 5 yards of receiving, both 2 touchdowns. Ramsey led up the final touchdown to Metcalf. He got burned a couple times during the game. Where do you stand as someone that covers a team with Ramsey? And do you think he's still, the upper echelon of corners within the game today?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of the deck stacked against him. He was playing without Troy Hill on the other side today. So it was all kind of on his shoulders. He's got a couple of rookies that are under his wing. Robert Rochelle's not a rookie. He's just in his second year, though, and he's not seeing a lot of playing time. Darian Kendrick, I think he's doing a fantastic job for a 5th-round draft pick or 6th-round draft pick. Sorry. So, I think he's got a hard road to hold, against especially a team like Seattle, who's got 2 fantastic receivers, as you're saying, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They were having a hell of a time trying to keep track of Tyler Lockett. It seemed like every time that Geno Smith found him, he was just wide open, able to make the catch for 10 yards and then add another, 15 on after the catch. He did that a couple of times. They ended up both 128 yards and 127 caught for 255 yards total today. A couple of touchdowns on top of that. Yeah, I mean, if you're that island guy, if you're going to be that the guy that is chirping out there and yelling and causing a fuss as much as Ramsey does. He's got to prove that. He's got to kind of make that happen, and we're just not seeing that right now. He's at that age where we've seen cornerbacks in the past start to regress, and I'm not gonna start the cooked watch quite yet for Ramsey, because he's had some games. He's had some really good games out there. But it's interesting to see with what his level of frustration will be like after being on a team that goes 5-12 or 3 and whatever maybe at this point. We'll see. He's a really competitive guy. I've never seen a more competitive person, even on the practice field, I wouldn't say. And if he's unsatisfied with that, what does that look like for the future with his team? We were already talking about kind of wild trade scenarios after this season if Jalen Ramsey could be a part of that. And maybe he's going to want to leave. Maybe he's going to want to, go to a contending team. We'll see.
Yeah. So Ramsey, I'm still leaving the book open. It's just, I think it's discouraging for Rams fans to see a couple of these performances littered in with, the expectation you have for a Jalen Ramsey type player. Like he is, for me personally, the last 5 to 7 years, he's been one of, if not the only premier, cornerback within the NFL. So it is a little concerning on that, but let's keep it positive. Skinny T. Brandon Powell looked really good in some flashes today. The 3 carries for 45 yards, and then he added 4 catches for 39 yards. And I think this is a guy that you've been kind of petitioning to, get the ball more to Brandon Powell in the open space. And we saw a lot of that today with close to 100 yards of total offense. What makes Brandon Powell so deceptive out in the football field? And do you think this is a guy that they need to just, consistently feed to move the offense for the Rams down the stretch?
I see him in that Debo light kind of category. He's, he's not as big as Debo. He's 5'8", which is how tall I am. I'm not playing in the NFL today, but 5'8" club, let's go. I think that just the way that he uses the space that he's given, he's a shifty guy. He's a kick returner, a punt returner, and he's got that kind of eye. He's got those kind of eyes where he's just looking for that space, and he's gonna find it. And they just haven't really gotten him the ball enough, I don't think. And this is the game that he's gotten the most targets and the most looks, 84 yards total. Came real close to getting a touchdown for himself. But I think the thing that gives him the biggest edge is he just plays with his hair on fire. He plays like he just wants every kick return and punt return. He's always pissed if he doesn't take it to the house. And we haven't seen that from everybody on the Rams team, on the Rams offense so far this year. Those running backs, they were called out for not taking advantage of their opportunities, and one of them was cut. One of them was almost traded. So if we can get Powell with some more touches, I think that's a good thing. And I'm just curious what it would look like if he was given those opportunities. I don't know if he's a star yet. He's obviously not shown that he's the Debo yet, but feed him the ball some more just to see what a guy like that can do.
Yeah, it was clear today, man. I mean, just 7 touches and the yards were there. I mean, he was averaging close to 10 yards a catch, 15 yards a carry on the ground for the former Florida Gators. So just feed this guy in bulk, and it seems like good things happen. We got to shout out the 5'8" club as well. I'm right around that height range. So, Brandon Powell, we're cheering for you, buddy. We want you to succeed in the NFL moving forward. You mentioned the running back room, and this is an interesting conversation. Cam Akers, I'd say he was, 17 carries, 60 yards, did get those 2 touchdowns, but, averaged 3.5 yards a carry, which I think is a little bit below average in the league. And when it comes to that, the guy that I'm looking at that I'm surprised is not being incorporated as much as Kyron Williams, the Notre Dame running back. There's a lot of hype around him coming into camp. He unfortunately had that early season injury. And today, he only had 3 carries for 9 yards. I'm just a little confused on why Kyron's not playing more. Do you think this is a guy that, I think the Rams should really open up, given the fact that they've had struggles in the run game, all year long? It's no secret.
Yeah, it's a very confusing thing. And I wouldn't just chalk that up to Kyron Williams. it's been confusing across the board. Today we saw the biggest production from the rushing game of the Rams all season long. In the first half, they had 71 yards, and they were already past 7 regular season games that they played this season. So they ended the first half with 25 carries, and then they ended the game with 33 carries. We saw some success with that running game in the first half. And it's not just my frustration, it's a fan base frustration and a lot of football dudes frustration that it doesn't seem like McVay wants to use the running game. And it's unfortunate because that's the running game allows you to pass the ball in a more effective way. And we saw that in the first half. That first drive, there were 6 carries for 33 yards. They scored on that attempt or on that drive. So, I'm not a run first guy. I'm not an established run guy. I'm not I'm a running backs don't matter kind of guy. I'm a throw the ball kind of guy. But you have a running game for a reason. You have to use it. You should be using it. And Cam Akers, I think, showed that he's worth handing the ball off, but he needs to find the rhythm. He needs to get some touches before he's really getting his foot in the ground. And if they show some faith in him, he showed what he could do in the first half. But after the first half, they kind of started to get away from that with just eight attempts in that second half, and that's when the offense really started to sputter. And we didn't see, they put up a bunch of points in the first half, but only one touchdown in the second. So, yeah, I mean, that's where I feel about the running back room is I'm not seeing the how McVay wants to use it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I'm with you, man. And it's been very confusing because when you look at McVay's system as a whole, especially when he first got to Los Angeles, who was the face of the franchise? It was Todd Gurley. Like, that is the foundation of this team. And I think through the run, you can really establish the pass. You made some excellent points there. We're not seeing only with teams like, the Raiders, for instance, are just a team that Josh Jacobs has caught fire at the tailback position. He has opened up their offense to the point where they're winning 3 or 4 straight games. This is a team that's now back in the playoff picture, as unlikely as it may seem. But yeah, the run game has just not been there. And it's just so foreign and weird to see that with the Rams team, that their foundation, their identity was technically built on the run game and how it would operate, in that, Shanahan system, if you will. He was coming up in that with like LaFleur and all those dudes as well. The last question I got for you, and this is going to partake into the Rams as well. I think I would start Bryce Perkins because it gives them another dimension in the run game that they can explore because they've really struggled with it. And we saw it last week. He had close to 50 yards on the ground. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but just having those options to create more rushing yards for your team inevitably helps you out. And, being able to extend plays on the run like a dual threat in Bryce Perkins is as well. I just would prefer that. I like Wolford a lot. I think he made some mistakes today, did some good things today, but I would be in the camp of Team Bryce Perkins from here on out if I was a Rams fan. What is your opinion on the matter when it comes to Perkins or Wolford for the rest of the year?
It kind of depends on what they want to do with the rest of their year, I suppose. Here's one opinion that I have about Bryce Perkins is I think he would be a quality backup where he could make a bit more money if he went elsewhere. The Rams love John Wolford for what he can do in the practice squad and how he can kind of mimic some of the harder quarterbacks that the Rams play. That's what they like about him. Wolford is not the future of the Rams quarterbacking room, nor is Bryce Perkins. So I think we give Perkins a chance to go out and make a little bit of money, give himself an opportunity to do some things for out there. They've stashed him for a long time. They've tried to hide him from the rest of the league. So I would say give him a chance to go make some money someplace else and get some opportunities another place. So that said, I mean, Wolford's just a more accurate quarterback. So I can absolutely see why they would want to roll with that. but this season is kind of a lost season at this point. They're in the bottom 3 of the league right now. I think the Lions maybe should, find some way to send some money in the Rams' direction to tank the last few games of the season, which is another vote for Bryce Perkins playing in the game. But yeah, I mean, I like seeing Perkins out there, but Wolford's a more accurate quarterback. I think Wolford actually gives the Rams a better chance to win games. But I don't really know what the motivation is for the Rams to win more games at this point or lose more games. They're not, they're playing for that Lions draft pick position. They traded that away for Stafford. So the Lions are really going to benefit from that more than the Rams will. So I'm not, it sounds like Stafford's shut down for the rest of the season. It sounds like we'll see what happens with Aaron Donald. It's tough. It's tough trying to like game theory this out and say, this is what the Rams want to do with the rest of their season. So I'm fine either way. I like both guys. I think they're both interesting players, and I'm interested to see in what they have to offer. But I think if winning games and saving some face and hurting the Lions a little bit is what you want to do, I'm gonna ride with Wolford on that one.
Totally fair, man. Wolford for Skinny T, Bryce Perkins for me. Let's put this out on Twitter. You guys decide who you want to be starting for the rest of the season for the Rams. Skinny T, tough one. I know you said no moral victories, but man, you came very, very close. You got some news, as it looked like over there?
Not news. I just wanted to shout out a couple of things. I wrote an article about the revamped defensive line, which we haven't seen a lot from these young guys before because Aaron Donald's just been such a beast at playing games and showing up. Michael Hoyt, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss.
Yeah,
he's a Ivy Leaguer, Brown Bear, just an all-motor kind of guy. Really fun to see that. Bobby Brown, draft pick from 2020. People thought kind of heir apparent to what Aaron Donald, to replacing Aaron Donald. Didn't see a lot from him today, but he did get a tackle for a loss, and he also put Austin Blythe on skates, which was kind of fun to see, just pushing that center back into the quarterback. So I just wanted to shout out. Oh, and Tutu Atwell, leading receiver for the Rams in a losing effort. So don't cast those ballots as a washed, as a failed draft pick quite yet. He's hanging in there. He's making a difference. That's all I had to say.
2 catches, 48 yards. That's kind of what they want from him, just to make 2 big catches a game, 2 to 3 big catches. If Tutu Atwell can do that, he will be a valuable source of receiving for the Rams moving forward. Make sure you read all the stuff we got coming from Skinny T. I know he talked about that defensive line article. He's going to be covering the Rams, as you guys know, all throughout the season and off season. He's got great content, so make sure you're reading and listening to that. And make sure you're liked and subscribed to LA Football Network. We got all the goods coming here. With all the football season and the draft, which will be heating up soon. We got some new stuff with that. But we are officially out. Rams, big game next week. Hopefully we can deliver. You guys take it easy, all right?